This was supposed to be good morning, but it is good afternoon now. Uh, so we were told that it's going to be 45 minutes, but unfortunately it is 30 odd minutes. So we will try and keep it crisp. But I'm really excited for you all to meet the panel because we had some initial conversations about how do we get future ready from a sustainability point of view. So let me just set some context. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Darshana. I head sustainability at Lakme Fashion Week, and it was also an absolute pleasure to build SU.RE sustainable resolution with CMAI around 5.5 years ago. And to have this conclave actually happen today has been something in the conversations and in the pipeline for a very long time. So I'm glad that it's happening, and our debut session is seeing such a great response. So, future-ready India, competing in a sustainable global economy. What does it mean? Can we set some context? So, over the last few years, sustainability in fashion has shifted from being a voluntary agenda to a regulatory requirement. The EU, as you know, through policies like the ESPR and the upcoming DPP, Digital Product Passport, is essentially making sustainability mandatory across the value chain, from design to materials to traceability and end of life. What this means is simple. We are moving from a world that claims to a world with proof. For India, this is a defining moment. We are one of the largest textile and apparel exporters globally, with deep capabilities across manufacturing, recycling, and cluster-based systems like Tirupur, Surat, and more. So the question is no longer whether we participate, because, we've been here for a long time. But the question here is how we compete and whether we can lead in this sustainable global economy. And today, with this amazing panel, we're going to try and unpack some part of it because 30 minutes is not going to be enough. So to begin with, may I invite the panelists to do a quick 60-second introduction of who you are and what you do, and one line on what sustainability means in your day-to-day work.
Thank you very much, Darshana. Hi, everybody. I'm Kushagra Bansal from KS Spinning Mills. We're a recycling spinning company based out of Panipat. We produce close to 200 metric ton of recycled yarn every day. I believe we sit at the intersection of circularity, material innovation, and most importantly, scale. Because till the time we talk about scale and sustainability, it's more about being at a pilot stage, which is not what we're here to talk about today. And for us, it's about, so as you said, about sustainability. So for us, it's about sustainable profits. Sustainability which can make an impact not just on the morality aspect of things, but also on the business side. Thank
you. Very good afternoon to all. I'm Anand Muthuswamy, Joint Secretary of Tirupur Exporters Association and Chairman of Branding and Sustainability Committee, Tirupur Exporters Association. Thank you for the opportunities for the organizer, President Anand, Naveen, Raul Mehta ji, and everybody for the opportunity. From my perspective, sustainability is no longer an option or a differentiation. It is the market assess requirement and a basic need to do business globally. On Tirupur point of view, sustainability is just environmental responsibility, transparency, and responsible manufacturing. Thank you.
Sure, go ahead. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sundar Belani. I'm the managing director for a company called Ramsons. Ramsons, basically, my dad's name was Ram, and we are Ramsons. We are a 75-year-old company, and I think we are on the sustainable end of the technology spectrum here. What we basically do is we manufacture. Actually, I remember when Sri Giriraj Singh met us, he's a textile minister, and he said, who are the people who actually manufacture sustainable technology in India? And we are one of the very, very few companies that are doing that. But I'm proud to say that today what we manufacture both in terms of technology or in terms of processes. I think we are the one of the top three to actually say we produce, say, waterless washing machines, or we can actually wash with air using ozone and things like that. So today, we give you the technology that you require to be a truly sustainable company. Our entire logo of a company is sustainable thinking, and we are focusing on that. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kritika. I lead sustainability for Shahi Exports. Shahi is India's largest apparel manufacturer. We're 50 years old, a little younger than Sir's company. Sustainability for me and the company actually means removing all the fog and cloud around the terms, the jargons, the popular words, and actually seeing what it means on the ground, going on the ground and actually doing sustainable work. My job here is to actually make that easy and accessible to the team. So I work in the sustainability and innovation team. I work in the mixture of bringing new startups, bringing new solutions, but also seeing how that impacts the numbers and the data of the company. So yeah, that's about me and the company.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Smita Bait, Senior Technical Manager, Fibers, Material and Circularity at ZDSC. As some of you know, ZDSC is a non-for-profit organization based in Amsterdam, and our focus is on sustainable chemical management in fashion industry, including textile, leather, apparel, footwear, as well as fiber manufacturing and fiber recycling. In my role at ZDSC, I'm responsible for leading ZDSC's circularity strategy and also developing fiber guidelines with laser focus on chemistry and sustainable chemical management. I'm also responsible for collaboration of ZDSC's activity with other like-minded organizations like Canopy, Textile Exchange. And for us, sustainability means a world where better chemistry leads to protection of life, land, air, and water. And that is ZDSC's vision as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists, for keeping it really brief. Appreciate it. Smita, can we start with you? You spoke about chemistry in sustainability and fashion, not a topic that is widely spoken of. Can you take us through the fiber guidelines and tools that ZDHC is putting together to ensure that recyclers are ready for the upcoming regulation and the broad sustainability requirements? So if you can just give us an overview of what is chemistry when it comes to fashion, and what are the guidelines and tools that ZDHC is putting together?
So basically, in textile and fashion industry, chemistry is all about the chemical formulations or commodity chemical solvent that we use throughout supply chain, starting with the fiber extraction till we process material and then finish the material. So in general, when we talk about textile manufacturing, we use a lot of formulations. But when we talk about fiber manufacturing and fiber recycling, we deal with few chemicals, but in large quantities. The example is if we use solvent for recycling, it sometimes goes in 1:1 proportion. So the quantities are huge, and at the same time, how those chemicals are managed during the production process is also important. How worker safety is taken into consideration, that is also important. So when we talk about our fiber guidelines and recycled fiber guidelines, we mainly focus on three focus areas: input, process, and output. In input, we talk about input, feedstock, and chemicals. So in our fiber guidelines, we have requirement for optimum use of chemicals during the manufacturing. When we talk about process, in the process part, our focus is on chemical recoveries. In some of the fiber manufacturing, some hazardous chemicals are used. And those chemicals need to be managed very carefully during the production process. That's why we focus on chemical recycling. And also in the output part, we focus on environmental impact of those chemicals in terms of wastewater, air, sludge, and solid waste. So this is our entire guideline requirement, which is distributed across three focus areas, and always our focus is on input so that we can restrict hazardous chemical entry at the input. And if chemicals are still used, some chemicals which are hazardous, then the maximum effort should be put to recover those chemicals as well as to reduce the impact on environment. And we have still, so far, three fiber guidelines. We started with MMCF in 2020. Then we have published ZSC recycled polyester guidelines in 24 and dissolve pulp, which is upstream of MMCF. Now we are working on recycled polyamide and recycled MMCF guidelines. And we are not just setting requirement through this guidelines, but we also have implementation tool for facilities to showcase their performance. So for that, we have various fiber module on ZSC supplier platform. So any MMCF producer or recycler can take assessment through those modules, and it is a third-party review desktop version, and soon once we start with recycled polyester guideline and pulp guideline desktop review, after a few years, we will move it into the on-site assessment. And I can proudly say that for our MMCF module, it's a 2-year-old assessment tool, and right now, almost 70% of global MMCF production is assessed through our tool. And this year, we started with recycled polyester and pulp, and we are receiving submissions from global recyclers.
Congratulations. I want to come to Mr. Muthuswamy, because a lot of what Smita just mentioned, on an implementation point of view, it comes on the cluster-based or the on-ground implementation. So firstly, if you can tell us how cluster-based models like Tirupur enable sustainability at scale. A lot has been spoken about the amazing work that's happening down there. If you can just give us an overview of what is the role of a cluster, and how are some of the aspects that Smita just mentioned, are they easy? Are they difficult to implement? Is it great on paper? What is the ground reality?
Okay. India is mostly MSME based, particularly in textile field. 80% of the manufacturers are MSME. So in Tirupur, we work together and create a common solution and platform for these MSMEs. A very good example I can tell is Tirupur Jetaldi. That is a zero liquid discharge, which we are working on commonly and which is easily accessible to everybody. Every day we are through a cluster, because we have a common treatment plants apart from individual plants, because all our in India, in so many places except Tirupur cluster, some big companies like SU.RE or Tech Sports Indicate, they have their own effluent treatment plant for water recycling. But this is the only place, Tirupur is the only place we are doing a common effluent treatment plant in a cluster level. And we are, every day we are recycling around 96% of our water and reusing. Every day it's around 13 crore liter, 1000 crore liter, we are recycling it. It is nearly 50% of the Tamil Nadu drinking water facilities. And now we are moving towards the same cluster level approach we are doing in the cluster level for the waste management, traceability, and also for the circularity and data-driven systems. So when we are working together on the cluster level, it's reduced the cost and the compliance become easy. And for all the MSMEs, it's easy for adaptation and affordable to them. And coming to the association role, we are very much helpful to the MSMEs, and we are working as a bridge between the global buyers and the local manufacturers and exporters. And we did a lot of works like this Jetaldi. Yesterday also we signed a MOU with a waste management company, namely Circulus from Tirupur. And we are clusterly, throughout the cluster, we jointly signed a MOU to collect the waste test, segregate, and including the traceability from end to end. So like that, we already entered so many MOUs, like with the reverse resources for collecting the textile wastes, and again with Fair Trade India to give awareness about the sustainability, GHG emissions. We did so many workshops, partnerships, training sessions in our association. So I can proudly tell that we can scale sustainability through the cluster-driven approach, which is very important, and that is successful for any clusters.
What do you think were some of your challenges when you started building the cluster approach to bring in sustainability practices and educate the MSMEs? Because to date, even with SU.RE, we do face a challenge about just educating about sustainability, and somehow the cost factor just seems to be jarring in front of everyone. So what was your initial phase like? And what does that trajectory look like for India to sort of take over the world?
Yeah, that's what I told in my earlier message earlier. So cost is a very important factor in this sustainability because individual MSMEs can't invest a huge amount. So cost and also the knowledge awareness is very important. And that is the reason we are doing so many workshops and in our association, in our local language, we make them the MSMEs and the manufacturers to understand about what is the basic thing, what is the basic need. And also we will share the infrastructure and also the systems and everything with them. So it is very much accessible to the MSMEs to do it. So it's an important, as I told you before, scaling the sustainability through transmission to everybody and not for individual compliance, not for just individual compliance. So it is a very must to work through cluster.
Thank you so much. Kritika, you on the other side, from a Shahi point of view, you're a mammoth yourself. So if you can take us through the role of suppliers in strengthening the on-ground implementation. And you also spoke about your work in innovation. If you can just highlight a couple of maybe innovators that you worked with, how does that ecosystem work, and why is it important to support innovation in our road to sustainability?
Right. That's an amazing question. And I think when we say what suppliers can do, the answer is so long that I can't try to summarize it within 2 minutes. Suppliers hold the majority of the climate footprint from the product. We all know 70 to 80% of the footprint lies with the suppliers. So everything that can happen with removing that footprint can happen within the supply base. Actually, suppliers can start with identifying the opportunity of piloting innovations. Now, what I mean by that is innovators and startups, even some here in the room, Report AI, Canva Loop, all of these people we have met at Shahi also, all of these innovators have such amazing solutions, but sometimes they lack the testing space and knowledge and expertise. So what suppliers can do is we can welcome them, we can allow them to run their pilots, their test. We can learn what does it mean for us innovator to come and work in our business as usual model. We can see if those metrics work for us. We can see if we can scale it and we can reduce our environmental footprint with these new innovations that are coming up. So I think suppliers need to understand that we have a lot of opportunity to bring in these innovators and new world solutions and actually pilot them, test them, scale them, and also share them with the ecosystem. So once if Shahi is working with an innovator and they have really reduced my water footprint, as sir was mentioning, maybe like a carbon dioxide dyeing machine is really helping me reduce my water footprint, should I share it with the ecosystems where MSMEs can really use that knowledge, because they don't have the space or the time or the resources to actually pilot and test. So can Shahi share those knowledge with the ecosystem? So that's a very big opportunity that suppliers can play. Apart from that, suppliers also sit in brand conversations. So we sit with the brand designers. In those conversations, it is very important to bring up the topic of minimalism, how your compositions should be very simplified, how your construction should be very simplified, because circularity starts at the design stage. We miss that point. We often think that circularity is something that comes at the grave stage, at the end of the life cycle. However, circularity starts when your material is actually very simple in the beginning. So we as sustainability teams and supply chain side, we sit in these conversations and we tell the brands that can it be simplified? Can we reduce the compositions, the blends that we have? Can we reduce the harmful chemicals that we have here? So that's the power that suppliers can bring on these tables with the brand side. Something else that's upcoming and everybody here must be knowing, the ESPR, the DPP, all of the data regulations that we will now be facing. I think suppliers have all of that data. We have it within our upstream supply chain, within our downstream supply chain. So we have that responsibility to actually standardize that data. What does it mean to collect that data? Spread that awareness in the supply chain. We should help our upstream suppliers. We should help recyclers. All of us should talk in the same data standard manner so that our data speaks a story. And that story we can translate and give it into a form of a DBP or some other report that the EU regulations are asking for. So I think we all have that power to actually build really good data systems internally. And that's, I think, the future. In the next 2-3 years, that's, I think, where most of my energy will at least be going.
Interesting. I just want to spend some more time with you. We spoke briefly in our initial conversations about take-back and recycling channels and the importance of collaboration to optimize these. Can you give us some examples maybe of how you're making this work?
Yeah. So at one point of time, within our innovation team, we are piloting, evaluating more than 300 innovators. Now, these innovators are spreading across materials, processing, waste, energy, water. Within materials, we have a lot of recyclers, global recyclers also, who are working with us. We are trying to test their fiber. We are trying to see if we can send our waste back to them and then they can recycle and give it back to us. Something that I realized in this process is that I heard a lot of brands and a lot of suppliers discuss this point that, can I give my waste and can I get that fiber back? So the clear answer is no, you cannot do that. The mass balance approach has to come here, because the recyclers are also working at a minimum order quantity. They can't let your own t-shirt go into recycling and then come back as a t-shirt. They can't unfortunately do that. And to run sustainability at scale, we have to give them 8 tons, 10 tons, 20 tons of waste fabric. And you can't say that this is my physical fiber that came back to me. You have to be very adjusting in that fact that, okay, I gave 8 tons, I got 1 ton back. I just have to mass balance it in my head. So something that we often have to turn down brands on is that fact that, I'm so sorry, I can't turn your waste into physical fiber, but I will turn your waste into valuable fiber that might go to anybody, that might go to even some other suppliers. But I will make sure I give you back 1 ton of recycled fiber. So that's a very simplified approach that people often miss in this piece of buyback. Something else that's important here is that geography and the type of technology is also very important. Now, we as Shahi are very India focused, like all of our factories are in India, but some of these solutions that really recycle fiber for you, they're sitting outside. This recycling space has evolved in a very fast space and a very beautiful way. Some time back, we used to see that there were only mechanical recycling happening, also very cotton-rich recycling happening. I mean, Tirupur, I know, is a beautiful hub of where this mechanical recycling happens, and we also give most of our waste to Tirupur. But when we have blends with us, when we're sitting on a lot of cotton polyester, when we're sitting on 3-4 blends together, we unfortunately can't give it to SU.RE. We have to give it to some chemical recycler who can cater to that. And these chemical recyclers, unfortunately, are also spread across the globe. So I have to be very mindful that I want this to be recycled, but I can't tolerate the carbon footprint that it will travel across the world and come back to me. Does that make sense for me? So when we're talking about recycling, we have to actually talk about the LCA. Like, when this product leaves me, what is the footprint that it carries with itself? And once it comes back to me, what is the LCA that this product has? People will be shocked that sometimes recycled materials are even more environment intensive than virgin material. So I think it's the data. What ma'am was also saying, data will actually speak the story. So whenever you're working with any buyback, any recycled material, make sure that you have the LCA right next to it and you're aware of where that largest footprint lies and you're able to reduce that. We are working with a lot of recycled fibers. We're working with global players like CERC, Santis. Some of these are also so technically sound that they have made fibers very similar to virgin fiber. Recycled fiber and virgin fiber are looking the same these days. So we just need to be careful that we know that where are these located geographically, what does it mean for me in terms of LCA, and can I bring it to scale in India? So I think the next phase will also be about bringing these technologies to India and building that infrastructure within the country, because we have amazing supply chains, we have amazing labor force. We just need to bring these technologies to India and have that infrastructure built up.
Luckily, we have one of the players sitting on the panel. So Kushagra, coming to you. Can you add on to what Kritika was saying? I think a crucial part of the LCA, but you also take great pride in giving cost-effective recycled yarns. Can you take us through some of that?
So, something very important what Kritika mentioned is about scale. Scale drives everything. I mean, till the time the innovation is at a pilot stage, none of us really can benefit from it, be it the brands, be it the suppliers, or the innovators. Essentially, when we do have something that brings out the scale in the when something does bring out the scale in the circular model, it benefits everybody. And eventually, how we work is essentially we divert everything from saving water, saving chemicals. Instead of recycling it, we try to reduce the consumption of these resources. Now, when we reduce the consumption of these resources, eventually, of course, the cost effectiveness does come down. Now, where that translates into the supply chain is all dependent on where the suppliers are moving forward with the brands themselves. Now, of course, one thing in India is that we do have a lot of the infrastructure. As Kritika rightly mentioned, it's about creating that ecosystem, creating that collaborations, that partners, so suppliers can really work together. Otherwise, of course, a mammoth like Shahi can work very well because they have that scale, they have that opportunity. But would a smaller recycler or a smaller player who does not have that scale and that capacity fragmented? See, in a place like Tirupur, of course, it's a cluster. I think it's an archetypal in the Indian subcontinent. I don't think we have any place like that, where you have a recycler, you have the fabric mills, and you have the garmenters all in one place. So you can really create a circular economy there. But what about all the other places? Now, talking about where our manufacturing base lies is around Panipat. Now, Panipat produces almost 3,000 metric tons of recycled yarn per day. Now, all of that cut waste is either predominantly being imported because of, again, logistical constraints right now. We ourselves consume almost 150 plus metric ton of cotton waste every single day. And majority of that comes out of Bangladesh right now. It may be multiple reasons. Segregation, of course, comes down to be a very, very important aspect. That do we get the quality of the material segregated in the right sectors, delivered to us in the right side? Can we get that constantly? We do face a lot of challenges sourcing currently all of that from India. But looking at the current geopolitical situation, where you have so much volatility, global relationships, I mean, just going back a few months, we've been facing supply constraints, and that really drives a lot of uncertainty with all our retailers. So we need solutions for that, and that's where we want to come down to Indian suppliers. And we implore them to have some segregation models in place. So all of your cut waste, which of course is of the highest quality materials, can come back to us, be recycled, and be in the right supply chain. And of course, that will impact all your LCs, all your logistical aspects. What Kritika mentioned, sometimes the recycled material itself has a higher carbon footprint than of a virgin material. Now, how do we eliminate that? Currently, I feel a lot of suppliers do not even know all of these information because they're not aware of these things. And that is where brands and retailers do play a very, very important role in educating these suppliers.
Thank you so much. Mr. Bilani, I'm going to come to you. I know that you spoke about how machinery and sustainability goes hand in hand for you. But if you can elaborate a little more on how the machinery and technology at Ramsons is fully attuned to achieve sustainability goals, and what sort of goals are you particularly looking at?
First thing, Darshana, is like whatever technology is available out there, outside the country, is available in India. Ramsons is a totally Atmanirbhar company. And I'm just going to name 4 or 5 technologies, like say the nanotechnology, right? That actually brings your water and chemical consumption down by 90%. What we do is, water and chemical is just blasted into atomic particles, and that under pressure would go into the warp and weft of a garment and create the effect of softener or basic enzymes at 90% lower water chemicals. Now, Kritika was saying that if a company like SU.RE uses it and then calls all these MSMEs to come and have a look at it. So that's awareness spreading on that technology. But the other aspect that I'd like to mention here is that, a lot of India or Bangladesh, say, sells to Europe or sells to America. And they would promote a technology that's available there. So what the government of India should do for companies like us is actually set a platform with those buyers to tell them that this technology is available here. Today, we are bleaching garments with air. We take God's own air, we then create oxygen, O2, and then from O2 to O3, and that creates the effect of bleach, anti-bac staining. Today, we can do acid wash and towel wash, which was earlier done with a lot of water and chemicals or PP spray with only air. We've got that technology. We've also got Darshana traceability software that actually traces like your sustainability thing. It's called the Eco Now, where you can install that in any of the equipment, whether it's our equipment or any other equipment, that would actually trace your sustainability angle, like how much chemical, power, effluent you're getting out of the machines. We produce, say, electrical steam generators now. There was this LPG shortage in Iran, because of Iran, and a lot of people approached us the last 2-3 weeks that do you have an alternative? Now, we have electrical steam generators where we don't need, and we are a solar-powered country nowadays. So, a lot of technology today we've got, which actually abets sustainability, helps, I think, 90% of the entire trend here and the ROI of what we manufacture is hardly 8 or 9 months compared to European technology. So we have it all, Darshana, if it's available here. Yeah.
And what do you think is the penetration of these technologies in the domestic as well as the export market?
As of now, yeah, the top players use it. And like she said, it has to filter down. And because it's so reasonably available, I think it should go down more. But unfortunately, as of now, it's a maximum of 5 to 7%, and we've got a long way to go. Awareness, we have every exhibition, we have workshops, like he says, but it has to filter down, yeah.
Do you think the government has some role in promoting these technologies?
Oh,
or
sure,
what sort of ecosystem do you think is required for these?
No, say technologies like ours, if the government supports us, like Make in India, give a subsidy, if you use this technology, you are going to get this. Like, we are manufacturers of polypropylene drums for leather tanning. Now that replaces wooden drums. So the government of Tamil Nadu and India gives a subsidy for that. But that's just one-off. There's so many other technologies which people use which will actually affect the whole chain. But they can do that, Darshana. Yeah.
Thank you so much. How are we on time? We're okay? Or wrap? Oh, wrap. Okay. Okay, just one last question because, you know, there's been this long conversation about global north and global south. And I think India has a huge role to play in the global south. I'd just like your thoughts on how India can really take the baton for this part of the world and come out not just as a manufacturing hub, but as a thought leader in sustainability manufacturing, design. I think we do not speak about design as much, Kritika, as you mentioned. I mean, a lot of my work comes rooted in design, and we don't speak about design and look at it as an afterthought. But how do you think we as a country can be the voice of Global South for the rest of the world? Can we start with you?
So I strongly believe that, you know, for India to lead the global, we need business models which reinforce morality as well as impact. Now, when we have both of these things coinciding, it does not have to be a trade-off. It can simply reinforce each other, and that's where, you know, we will actually lead the scale.
Yeah, India should double down on the cluster lead sustainability because MSME is the backbone of our industries to scale up the sustainability. So mainly affordability and adaptability, and this can be achievable only through cluster level sustainability.
So like I said, technology is available here. So we get the buyers from Europe, we bring them here, and we tell them that this global south has it all. Awareness, subsidies, I think that's the way forward, Darshana. Thanks.
I think India has a lot of strong informal sectors which have been running circularity even before circularity was a word. We have really strong youth. We have a lot of employment in the textile sector. I think it's just channelizing it in the right direction. I think we just need to know whatever the clusters are doing, whatever the ecosystems are doing, how can we strengthen it with better infrastructure, with better KPI approach, monitoring approach, and also just finance and collaboration. I think that's going to be two very key important things where all the supply chain members, we work together with a very meaningful intent, and also the support is given for finance. You know, some of these technologies don't have an ROI, to be very honest, but they have such strong environmental footprint benefits that we need that finance gap. We need to de-risk a few things for ourselves. So I think finance, collaboration, and just channelizing the already existing ecosystems, I think that's going to be very helpful for India to make it a global leader.
In my perspective, India has already very good infrastructure for manufacturing at scale. But if that capability is combined with innovation, skill development, as well as having manufacturing using safe chemistry, very credible data attached to that manufactured material, and transparency throughout the supply chain. If we have these factors, then definitely our manufacturing scale can reach to a higher level. And in future, it is not just about manufacturing more, but it is actually manufacturing smarter, faster, and more responsibly than others. And I think that is the way for us in future.
Thank you so much. I would really encourage each and every one in the room to spend some time with our panelists here. There's a wealth of knowledge that we can all use in our individual work. Thank you so much. We're running short of time, so we won't be able to take any Q&A. Thank you, CMAI, SU.RE, EcoStitch, and we look forward to having deeper conversations through the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, our dear moderator and our panelists. I would now like to invite Mr. Ankur Gadia, Vice President of CMAI, to felicitate all our speakers.